Good morning. Welcome to Doc Talk Live. I am sitting with Rodney Overstreet, who is a nurse anesthetist that I work with. Rodney and I have done a Doc Talk Live, maybe a year ago now.
Yeah.
We did it on hypnosis, and Rodney is a nurse anesthetist. He provides sedation for many of my patients out at UAB West in Bessemer. And we talked about hypnosis. But Rodney has the gift for gab. And so I've asked him to come talk to us today about giving support for the healers, trying to heal the healers. Can you tell me a little bit about this topic to get our viewers, when they happen to be watching, sort of intro to it?
Okay, yeah, I'd love to. Good morning. How's everybody doing? First thing I'd like to invite you to do is to take a big deep breath. So just take a big deep breath. Relax your eyes. Between your eyes, your furrow. If you have a furrowed brow, relax that. Relax behind your eyes, your jaw, your tongue, your throat opens up. So you breathe freely and easily. Relax your shoulders, shrug those. And I'm going to ask you just to be really present right now at this moment. If you've got a list or a weekend activities, just let all that stuff go for a second and just be really present in the now. And what I'd like to talk to you guys about is compassion fatigue and vicarious trauma that helpers and healers go through. Even before COVID arrived, I noticed that we were having a tremendous amount of burnout, compassion fatigue, substance abuse, suicide in the nursing population and the physician population and some of the other allied health professions that I was just witnessing in my life. And then COVID happened, and an already stressed team and environment got even more stressed. And so I'd like to talk about that today and address some ideas that I have. And to give you a little background on me, I'm a third generation nurse. My grandmother taught me pretty much everything I know about how to love people and how to heal people. And she didn't even go to school. She just studied under a physician and took her boards, and she was an LPN. And then later on, she got her degree in OR tech, as an OR tech, and she ran the little one-room OR in Groveville, Alabama. And so she always taught me the importance of caring for people and caring for your patients, but not really caring for yourself. And she was a victim of burnout and overwork and probably compassion fatigue at some point. And I wasn't even really aware of compassion fatigue until I had been a nurse anesthetist for maybe 10 or 15 years. And suddenly I realized that instead of going to work and actually looking at my patients as people and empathizing with their conditions and their family and their circumstances and really feeling their anxiety or their grief or their pain, and then assessing that and addressing that on a real humanistic level, I was beginning to look at them as a mechanistic process, a disease process, or the lady in 302 or whatever. And that was during the time that I had small children at home, and I was working lots of hours and not getting home until late, so I wasn't really sleeping like I should have. So I wasn't using the self-care that I needed to self-care, and I was also in the midst of a marriage that was slowly deteriorating, which is another big issue that we have in healthcare. There's massive amounts of divorce. And so these are just some of the things that I want to talk about, because we love preventative maintenance and preventative care for our patients, but we have a hard time looking at ourselves and engaging in preventative care, preventative maintenance for ourselves.
So I can see how you got interested in the topic. What did you start to do? What changes did you make? What's the next thing that happened?
Yeah, so great question. So when I became aware of what I was doing, and that's another thing, we get so caught up in our avatar and our hats that we wear. We're so associated with what we do. I am Rodney Overstreet, the nurse anesthetist, or Brad Goodman, the doctor, and I care for these patients. And it becomes really difficult to see ourselves from the outside. Our ego is so strong, and we're attached so strongly behind our two eyes, looking out, fulfilling the role that we fulfill, and all the other roles, father, husband, brother, member of the community, that we can't realize when things are going wrong. But when I realized what was going wrong, finally, when I had a moment to breathe, when I had a moment of solitude, I had an awakening, as it were. And that was whenever I went on a trip to India for a couple of weeks. And so I just had a couple of weeks free of all of my responsibilities, just me and two other guys, and we sort of ate our way through India and visited all these wonderful temples and stuff. and I had time to meditate, and I had already started meditating a few years earlier and doing yoga a couple of years earlier. And I think that yoga and meditation for me were two key parts of creating a space. I like to call it the gap, because we get stuck in these cycles where we get stimulated and we respond. We're stimulated and we respond. You know, right now, if I slapped you in the face, you would probably, you know, get really angry and you would respond in some other way. But there's going to be lots of times in life whenever we get slapped, metaphorically or in real life, and we need to create a space. We need to stop our automatic responses. And so I learned to create a space during that time, and I want to show other people how to create that space. And so was sort of the genesis of this.
How do I create that space?
It starts with the breath. It starts with the vagal breath. Just taking a big, deep abdominal breath, not a chest breath, not a breath here, but the breath in your belly. And I know that sounds so cliche and so stupid, and you've heard like people talk about this forever. But just breathing with your belly, taking your non-dominant hand, putting it over your belly button, and moving your belly button forward as you breathe in. So big Santa Claus breath or Homer Simpson breath, and then you breathe out. And you do that a few times, and what you do is you actually are accessing your inner pharmacy. You literally are giving your brain neurotransmitters that it wants and needs. When we're searching for a high, we're not searching for the alcohol or the gambling or the workaholism. We're searching for serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, endogenous opioids.
So let me just reframe this, or let me back up, not
Yeah.
even reframe. So one of the things that attracts me to you, Rodney, is you are one of those people that I want in my community. In other words, I could easily be one of those stressed out doctors that you're talking about, or one of those healthcare providers, or just anybody in society who is overstressed in our environment, because we don't live in a meditative society.
It's high stakes, high stress.
And so the first thing I think is to identify your people. You know, who are people in your community that sort of can calm you down. You're one of those people.
Thank you.
So you said you actually want to be that community for people. So
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, how do people reach out to you? Why should they reach out to you? How do people find you? And how do people find people like you?
Yeah. So there aren't a whole lot of healers for the healers and healers for the helpers yet. But I'm hoping that if we start a coordinated movement, that we will grow and we'll identify the people within our fields who do feel called to do this. Because I was called to be a healer at a very young age, but it was only later on that I realized that I'm called to even do more than that, and that's to help heal our healers and help alleviate some of the compassion fatigue, so that we can treat our patients with more compassion and more dignity, and that we can help maintain our healthcare providers in a healthy state, so that they can stay in good relationships with their spouses, that they can be productive members of their hospital community and their social community, and more efficacious when they're in
So
the
you are
world.
starting almost a self-help group called Heal the Healers?
Yeah.
Is that what you'd call it?
Yeah, I think ultimately you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and I'm the first to admit I don't know what I'm doing. This is a completely new idea, and I need help. So if you want to reach out to me, please do that. I'm Rodney Overstreet on Facebook. I'm Hypnos for Hire, HYPNOS number 4 Hire on Twitter. You can email me at hypnosforhire@gmail.com. So if you have good ideas, or if you want to be part of this, please let me know. But what I envision and what I've been researching and studying, I'm reading this amazing book by Dr. Vagal Breath called The Hungry Ghost, in the Realm of Hungry Ghost, and it's all about addiction. And I don't have any firm addictions, like I like to eat too much probably, and sometimes
He has talks on YouTube that are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love. He's
If
a
you-
really good speaker, by
Yeah.
the way. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate.
Yeah. And he's a flawed individual too. He's the first to admit his addiction is buying classical music, which sounds like it's not a big deal, but it has been a big deal in his life, and he's a horrible workaholic. And he's the first to tell you that. His life has suffered because he has to mean something to other people to mean something to himself. And that's really important in the process of understanding our addictions and our trauma patterns and the circles that we get in. And so I think that the best way to address this would be, and I didn't know how to address it until COVID. So COVID's been a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it's shown me that we can do things digitally, we can learn digitally, and we can support each other digitally, and we can create tribes digitally. And so I think that the first steps are to create a semi-regular Zoom meeting where we get together once a week or once every couple of weeks. You can host 100 people on a Zoom call. So initially just roll out a weekly Zoom call. And then second, to use the 12 steps of AA. The 12 steps of AA work. They don't work for everybody. It's not a panacea. Some people are just going to watch and they're never going to be part of it, and that's okay. And some people are going to join and be a part of it, and they're going to actually get some work done, and that's okay. And then some people are going to be too scared or too embarrassed to be engaged in that process, and so they won't choose to be involved, and that's okay too, because maybe somebody who did get involved and did do the healing for their trauma will see their friend who's too either nervous or embarrassed or ashamed to come to a Zoom meeting, and then they'll do the one-on-one work that it takes.
Super.
So,
Rodney, I want to thank
yeah.
you for at least introducing this topic.
Yeah.
It would be.
I really appreciate it.
It would be, I don't have enough. I have maybe 2,000 followers, but if
Yeah.
I had more followers, if I got up to 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, the more people we get in this forum, we could do this again.
Yeah.
We can do anything you want, really, in this setting with Doc Talk Live too.
I want to create a safe space where healthcare providers and helpers, firemen, EMTs, paramedics, get to talk to other people who know your trauma. Someone who is a CPA or someone who is who runs a chain of grocery stores can't understand the vicarious trauma that we interact with, the drama that happens in our jobs, and the pressures and stresses that we have. And so I think that if we have a tribe of people who understand where they're coming from, that more healing can occur.
Awesome. Let's see. Oh, good. We got a thanks. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rodney.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you too, brother.